Welcome back, students. So in previous video we have already discussed about the proper drainage system, that how it prevents the uh, soil erosion. Now next is construction of embankments. So building embankments along river banks and burns around fields prevent the soil erosion. So how it prevents? See here, suppose if this is the river, then when the water is flowing through here during the rainy season, more amount of water flows, and with it some amount of the soil from these banks are also carried away by the flowing water. So it can be prevented by making the embankments or barriers. By creating the barriers, right, we can prevent it. Similarly, bunds means across the river, if we can make the some kind of barrier or some dams as we are constructing. So in that case also, what happens, the rainwater remains here only, right? And if it is in excess, then we use to open the doors of the dams and the extra water is removed from here, right? So in this also, the water, it is not carrying any amount of the soil from here to here, right? Next is in this area, the when the water is made to stand for a longer period, then most of the water get absorbed under the ground also, and as a result the level of the underground water increases, and that the topmost level of the water is known as water table. That means the to raise the water table means that the level of the underground water increases. Making terraces. Now, cutting steps or terraces on the slopes of the hills and building bunds on the outer edges prevents or blocks the speed of the flowing water and helps in soil conservation. Now, see how. See, turn the page and see here. This picture you can see here, and here you will see that this is looking like a step. Usually in hilly areas you will observe this type of scene, right? Now actually, what are these? These are not the step, these are actually the small fields which appears as a step from a longer distance, right? Now on these small areas, the farmers, they used to do the farming, and to the edges they used to make the bunds or walls, so that during rainy season the water flowing from top to bottom will not carry much amount of the soil along with it, right? Next is building trees as windbreakers. So trees are here, windbreakers means which breaks the speed of the wind. Now trees are planted in rows across the direction of the wind to protect against strong winds, right? So how they do? See, you might have seen in the fields that trees are grown in a row. So these trees which are grown in a row acts as a curtains, and stops the or you can say reduces the speed of the wind. So as a result, the speed of the wind will be reduced and it will not carry much amount of the soil with it. So this prevents the blowing away of the soil, and these rows of the trees are called windbreakers. So these trees which are grown in a line or in a row are only known as windbreakers, right? Next is forest and natural balance. We already know that forest plays a very important in our life, right? And how it maintains the natural balance? So it maintains the natural balance by balancing the level of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the nature, right? Now as a result of overpopulation, what we are doing, we are cutting down the trees to build the houses and factories. Apart from this, means when you are felling down the trees, then in that case it will cause soil erosion. Apart from this, what are the other effects of the deforestation? It results in the loss of homes and lives of the wild animals. So if we cut down the trees, then most of the animals, they will become homeless, and even they lost their life also. When forest wealth is endangered, the balance of the nature is upset. Means if you will disturb the forest, then the natural balance will also get disturbed. So each one of us should try or should work hard to avoid the disturbing the balance in the nature. And if it is necessary, uh, to cut down the trees, then new trees should be planted in their place, right? We have to cut down, हमें ज़रूरत होती है तो हम trees cut down भी करते हैं, but if we are cutting down, then we should plant new trees also there, right? So the process of planting trees in a place of trees that are cut down in an existing forest is called reforestation. पहले हमने जैसे देखा था कि एफॉरेस्ट्रेशन मतलब होता है दैट द प्लांट्स आर ग्रोन इन अ लार्ज स्केल, राइट? एक बड़े एरिया में ग्रो करते हैं जहाँ पे कभी फॉरेस्ट नहीं था. एंड रिफॉरेस्ट्रेशन मीन्स कि वंस देयर वाज अ फॉरेस्ट and then trees were cut down, and in the same place if we are planting the trees, then that is known as reforestation. One festival is there which we are celebrating every year in order to increase the number of trees. That is one mahotsav, and it is a week long tree planting festival, right? And it is usually observed during the month of July, right? During this period, people plant millions of trees in all parts of the India, and during this all schools and they all are participating or they are celebrating this festival during the rainy season, so that more and more plants will be grown across their areas, right? Here one, do you know, it is given that in 1970s a movement against destruction of forest was spread in India. ठीक है, 1970s में एक फॉरेस्ट के डिस्ट्रक्शन के अगेंस्ट एक मूवमेंट स्टार्ट हुई थी, एंड दैट द मूवमेंट इज नोन एज चिपको मूवमेंट. So why we call it as Chipko movement? Because the villagers hugged the trees and thus prevented the contractors from felling down. तो वहाँ के लोगों ने क्या किया था? They started to hug the trees. वो जब देखते थे कि कॉन्ट्रैक्टर आ रहे हैं विलेज में फॉरेस्ट मीन्स ट्रीज को काटने के लिए, so they used to hug the trees. When they were hugging the trees, then the contractors were not able to cut the trees. So in this way they have protected the trees. As they have hugged and protected the trees, that is why it is known as Chipko movement. Thank you. Have a nice day.